let's talk Kansas City Chiefs. Now that we're about a couple weeks into free agency, we've seen a lot of the big time moves, a lot of the mid moves as well, as we're seeing what teams are making good moves, what teams are making smart moves, what teams are making dumb moves. And the folks over at Pro Football Focus, PFF, all about analytics, a lot of smart people over there. They broke down which teams made the smartest, the most team friendly deals, adding quality players at a great price and great contract structure for their team. And it's no surprise that the Kansas City Chiefs were among those at the very top of PFF's list. And they specifically focused on the signing of Hollywood Brown. And we've got to report exactly how good of a signing this was for the Chiefs when you get down in the details. Let's pull up the report from PFF and we'll talk about it more on the other side. All right, we projected a lot of wide receivers to sign 1-year flyers this offseason because it just so happened to work out that Brown, new Atlanta Falcon Darnell Mooney, and new Jacksonville Jaguar Gabe Davis all missed time in 2023 and weren't able to produce at their highest level. However, once Davis and Mooney signed very similar contracts with base values of 3 years and $39 million, with around 2/3 fully guaranteed, we figured Marquise Hollywood Brown would be looking at a 3-year, 45 deal or so at minimum. Again, minimum 3-year, $45 million deal. But instead, Brown signed a 1-year, $7 million contract with $6.5 million fully guaranteed, up to $11 million via incentives. We'll never know what his market was looking like, but this is obviously a steal for Kansas City, which adds a speedy weapon who can win at the intermediate and deep levels and runs crisp routes with sun breaks. When healthy in Arizona, Brown was fed targets at levels that rivaled any receiver in the NFL. All right, when the news broke, I think it kind of happened overnight. It was big for about 5 seconds, then people forgot about it. But I think this is one of the more high-value moves. I think, honestly, this is the biggest high-value move any team has made so far this offseason. I think PFF agrees with this 100%. Miles, what are your thoughts on this move? But first, before I hand it over to you, let me cut you off there. Chiefs fans in the comment section below, I want you to grade the Kansas City Chiefs offseason up to this point. You love everything so far. Give it an A+. Think it needs some work. You're waiting on the draft, give it a B-. Whatever it may be, give us your grade up to this point of the Kansas City Chiefs offseason. All right, Miles, now I'll throw it over to you. What are your thoughts on the Chiefs adding Hollywood Brown and PFF's analysis here?
I think this is a really good move by the Chiefs, Nick, and there's a couple of reasons why I like this. And I like in the article that they mention a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster, because this is a guy similarly, not skill-wise, but contract-wise. I think that the Chiefs pick a guy up down year, really weren't things looking up very well for Juju Smith-Schuster. Then he comes over to the Chiefs, has a pretty good career year there, then goes over, signs a bigger deal with the New England Patriots. I think that's something that's very similar and something that is going to happen to a guy like Marquise Brown. Playing on the Cardinals, you're not going to look great. The last 2 seasons, he's been around that 10, 11 yards a catch per average there. And I think that's pretty low for him. I think this is a guy that really can boost those numbers up. You look at Rashee Rice for the Chiefs, a guy who's pretty good, pretty speedy, but he's not quite as fast as a guy like Marquise Brown. He's closer to that 12 mark. You look at Juju Smith-Schuster in his time with the Chiefs as well, 12 yards per catch. So getting an extra yard or 2 per catch already just by having Patrick Mahomes having a more deadly long ball than other people have. I think a guy like Marquise Brown can really be utilized on that long ball, something that I don't think has really ever been highlighted in his career. Last season, he only had 2 catches over that 20-yard mark. I think Juju Smith-Schuster in his time with the Chiefs, I wouldn't call Smith-Schuster a burner by any means. I think, he was a pretty good size receiver, but he didn't have nearly the speed as a guy like Brown. He caught 4 balls over 20 yards when in his tenure with the Chiefs. I think this could be a really good fit and a weapon that Patrick Mahomes, of all people, would be really good at utilizing. So I think this is good. And the deal they got him on is just ridiculous when you look around the league. The Chiefs, they do it again and again, and I think it's becoming a destination where receivers see, hey, I can have a career resurgence here. I need to take a little bit less money to play. But if I know I'm better than what my performances on the field have been the last few years, I can come to Kansas City and really show out and probably win a Super Bowl while I'm doing it. So I think this is a great move for both sides, and I think they're both going to contribute from it very greatly.
I think a lot of credit needs to be given for Brett Veach and the strategy he's taken at the wide receiver position. And it hasn't been 100% hits. Obviously, they had a lot of issues at the position, of course, during the 2023 regular season as well. But he's taking the approach and he understands that look, we don't have to, and really we can't, being the Kansas City Chiefs with all the money they got tied up in other positions, make the kind of crazy deals. I mean, Gabe Davis getting $39 million. Love Gabe Davis in Buffalo. Love Darnell Mooney in Chicago. That's a lot of money to give those guys two-thirds guarantee. The Chiefs know they can't compete with that, but they're smart. They understand how the business world works in the football mindset. Players that play in big games get overvalued in the free agency market. They just do, right? If a guy makes a big play in the Super Bowl, it's the same kind of play that's made on week 15 between two teams that are 4-10. But the reality is it gets more notoriety, gets more attention. People think that player is better because of the environment that they're executing it in. And Veach knows that, and he knows that agents know that. That's why he's able to go out and get a guy like Marquise Hollywood Brown on a 1-year deal so cheaply. He says, listen, you're going to come here and you're going to put up better numbers. You're going to be out of the literal desert in Arizona. You're going to play in big games. You're going to make deep playoff runs. People are going to see you catch a 60-yard touchdown in the AFC Championship game, or have 100 yards receiving in the Super Bowl, or have, 4 big plays in the AFC divisional round, whatever it may be. And they're going to think you're a superstar again, and then you're going to get a mega deal, right? That's what the Brett Veach is leveraging. That's what the Chiefs are leveraging. And it's a phenomenal strategy. It's how you're able to pull off deals like this. What's really strange to me is that the Patriots kind of did it, but the Chiefs are taking it to a whole nother level, right? The Patriots would pay a lot of money and they kind of overpaid with some positions, right? And they kind of ended their dynasty towards the end a little bit. Everyone talked about Tom Brady taking pay cuts, but the Patriots were shoveling out dollars for a lot of guys. It wasn't top of the market money, but it was a lot of money. The Chiefs are taking the opposite approach. They're taking, hey, listen, 1-year deal, 2-year deals. You'll get all this notoriety. Everyone will see you make big plays, and then you'll make your money somewhere else, right? The Patriots really only did that at like defensive back with like Darrelle Revis. The Chiefs are taking that same approach, and they're not just applying it at the wide receiver position. We're seeing apply it across the board. They've kind of taken that strategy with L'Jarius Sneed at corner as well, with how they handled that a franchise tag deal there. So again, all in all, really great strategy by the Kansas City Chiefs, and this is an incredible move. And I got one more stat for you, Miles. I know I'm going on a little bit of a rant here, but you talked about Hollywood Brown being more efficient in the Chiefs' offense. Rashee Rice last year, rookie year, not nearly good player, not nearly as dynamic as Hollywood Brown, averaged 9.2 yards per target. Marquise Hollywood Brown the last 2 years in Arizona, 5.7 yards per target last year, 6.6 yards per target the year before. He was not getting the opportunities to create big plays in Arizona. He'll get a lot of them in Kansas City.
Yeah, Nick. And one last thing, I've been looking at the numbers, I've been looking at the positioning. I think that he is going to fit in Kansas City very well. And I think the Juju Smith comp comes back once again. When was Smith Schuster most effective? It's when he was at Pittsburgh with Antonio Brown. Everyone focused on Antonio Brown. You had a true number one. Marquise Brown, he was over in Arizona, really didn't have a true number one guy to kind of help him out last year. It was kind of, he was the number one guy. With Rashee Rice on this roster as well, I think Brown is going to have more opportunities to get that long ball, as you said. I think a little bit of pressure gets taken off of him as well, and that is going to be the situation where he's going to thrive. When he was in Baltimore, he was the number one guy. Really probably wasn't the situation for him. When he's in Arizona, he was the number one guy. Probably not the situation he thrives in. Now in Kansas City, he's been put in a situation where I think he's going to do much, much better than we've seen him do in the past.